Hi everybody, I'm back again with another military fighting knife video. I'd actually done this video a couple times before, but I felt like I never quite did this knife justice. What we have in front of us is a CISO issued MACV-SOG Recon Bowie knife. MACV-SOG stands for Military Assistance Command Vietnam Studies and Observations Group. Now, Studies and Observations Group might sound harmless in itself, but the reality of it is that these guys were some of the most, if not the most, hardcore soldiers in American history. The missions that these guys were sent on were simply ridiculous. We're talking recon, capture, kill, sabotage, real spy versus spy type of stuff for the day, and doing it in such extreme environments like the jungles of Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. This knife in particular is one of the numbered SOGs. So it's called that because it's got this nondescript serial number here. This one is number 541. There were approximately 3,700 sterile numbered SOGs made, and then an additional 1,700 presentation SOG knives made. I've got Mike Silvey's book here to show you a photo of a presentation SOG knife. So as you can see, you've got the 5th Special Forces crest on the Ricasso, and then along the blade it reads 5th Special Forces Group ABN Vietnam. So if you find a presentation SOG knife, that is what it should look like. Now onto some features of this edition of the MACV-SOG Bowie. We're going to have brass fittings on both the pommel and guard. This locking retaining lug here on the bottom of the pommel that holds the whole knife together. Leather stacked washer grip, and then 2 plastic spacers on either side. On these numbered SOGs, the plastic spacers will pretty much always be white. On some of the other models, you might find black, but if you find a numbered SOG or a presentation SOG in this configuration, they should be white. This guard here is the 2nd configuration guard for Recon Bowie knives. The first was called the Fat Guard SOG. This redesign was intended actually with some utility in mind. Essentially, if the knife was being held in a combat position and someone came up and tried to grab it here to disarm you, these sharp points would puncture the skin and cause a lot of discomfort and maybe make them reconsider grabbing the knife out of your hand. So there, yeah, definitely some utility there in that redesign. The blade is 6 inches long and is in a blued black configuration. Later models of these, out of the 3700, actually came in what's called a plum SOG color, and that was due to an error at the factory in Seki, Japan when they were doing the bluing process. It created a more plum colored blade. I think of it more of like a clay color, but again, here's Sylvie's book to illustrate that. That is what is known as a plum SOG knife. So if you find one like that in one of the higher serial numbers, do not be alarmed. That is totally correct. This particular one was sharpened on both the leading and trailing edge, creating a dagger tip point. It's very sharp. Whoever owned this knife really loved it. And you can tell by just the overall lack of abuse on this blade. Up here we've got the scabbard. This is the original configuration scabbard for this model. It also has no markings on it. And the reason for there being no markings on these knives or the scabbards is because the SOG guys, when they were running recon missions, were not permitted to have any kind of identifying markers on their body. The reasoning behind this essentially was that the United States wanted plausible deniability for their involvement in these war zones. So if they were caught, they were taught multiple different languages. They were instructed to act as though they were not Americans and certainly not disclose what they were doing there. They were not protected by the Geneva Convention. So honestly, being executed on the spot was something that was totally within the realm of possibility if these guys were caught. So like I said, these were extreme warriors, hardcore war fighters, and people you did not want to run into in the middle of the jungle. So here, last thing to touch on is the Sharpening Stone. This is a two-tone gray sharpening stone, also produced in Japan. This is the original stone that was issued with this knife, and if you find one of these knives that has a stone with it, it should be like this. This one is a little bit bowed because it's been used so much, but it should always be a two-tone stone. If it's not a two-tone stone, it was probably replaced at some point, likely after the war. So that's been a quick overview of the MACV-SOG Sterile CISO issued numbered Recon Bowie. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about this knife or want to see more of it, please let me know. This is one of the prized possessions in my collection, and I am extremely fortunate to own one. So yeah, thanks for watching, and have a great day.